What's up guys, EJ here, back with another video, and today it's going to be my weekly movie review roundup, episode 21. So yeah, I've got 7 new movies to talk about this week. Can't seem to catch up with my Netflix queue, watching 5-6 movies every week now. I'm close, I can feel it, I'm close, but yeah, I've been watching 5-6 movies a week for the past 5 months, trying to catch up with my queue. So anyway, 7 new movies to talk about. Not all of them great, I'll tell you that much. Probably the worst week actually I've had since doing this. But anyway, last Monday on April 19th, I watched The 33, directed by Patricia Regan and starring Antonio Banderas and Lou Diamond Phillips. Of course, true story of 33 Chilean miners who got their mine collapsed and they got stuck in there for 69 days. Was a major international story back in 2010. Yeah, good solid movie. The opening of the film is like a little party scene, and then all these guys drive into the mine, the San Jose mine, high in the Atacama Desert in Chile. Yeah, Lou Diamond Phillips sort of plays the safety officer. He's responsible for all the safety of all the guys, and he tells his supervisor, "Hey, this mine isn't stable." But of course, they have to fill a quota, so they all drive in there. They're in there a few minutes, and then the whole mine collapses like a big slab of rock, the size of 2 Empire State Buildings. The heart of the mountain, as it's called, collapses and traps them inside. This film is really also about the mothers and the wives and the sisters and the daughters who have to wait outside, banging on the fence, trying to find out what's happened to the men they love. The mine, the San Jose mine, was owned by a private company, and they didn't really have to give them any answers, not until the Chilean government steps in. Damien Bashir plays the Minister of Mining. He shows up and he assures all these women, "Hey, we're doing everything we can to get these guys out." But of course they're not, at least at first. And then Gabriel Byrne shows up. He plays an engineer who tries to figure out a way to drill a hole into where the guys are, and it's a very dicey situation. I like the first half of this film more than the second half, because the first half of the movie, the guys are really in a lot of trouble. The first 16, 18 days or so, they're living on rations. They live in this the refuge place, and they only survive on like little cans of tuna and little biscuits, and they have to ration that over that time. But eventually, they're able to drill a hole to them and send down tubes of food and clothing and medical supplies, iPods and shit like that. So the next 49 days seems like a pretty cakewalk for them, really. They look like they're having fun down there. They're like video conferencing with their families, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's a good solid movie. I like the first half, and the second half, like I said. And of course at the end it's really uplifting when they finally drilled a big man-sized hole to fit the Phoenix, I think it's called, is the name of the capsule that they bring the guys up one by one, all 33 of them. Of course it was a huge international story that the media from all parts of the world covered the whole time. So yeah, the 33, good solid movie. I enjoyed it. Overall, I liked Antonio Banderas. He was like the main leader, the hero, Diego, and Lou Diamond Phillips was good as well. So the 33, I gave a 7 out of 10. Alright, moving on to April 19th, Tuesday, I watched The Lady in the Van, directed by Nicholas Hittner, and of course starring Dame Maggie Smith. Maggie Smith plays an old curmudgeon homeless lady living in her van that she parks in the driveway of this English guy played by Alex Jennings, I think is his name. Yeah, Alex Jennings plays Alan Bennett a playwright with sort of a dual personality, and he puts up with this woman who's living in his driveway, living in her van, sort of covered in filth and painting her stuff yellow and all that kind of stuff. It's basically a vehicle for Maggie Smith to do her thing. Maggie Smith being an old curmudgeonly lady. Jim Broadbent's in the film as well. Yeah, I did not love this movie, I gotta be honest. There's an intriguing subplot with the fact that she might have hit some guy in her car that we see a glimpse of at the beginning. But beyond that, I was just kind of bored by this whole movie. I like Maggie Smith in general and Jim Broadbent, but I didn't really care for this movie at all. The Lady in the Van, I gave a 6 out of 10. Alright guys, moving on to Wednesday, April 20th, I watched The Letters, written and directed by William Reed, starring Juliet Stevenson. Of course, this movie is about the life and times of Mother Teresa. Takes place over a 50-year period, and is really about the letters she wrote to her spiritual advisor, Father Celeste Van Exum, who's played by Max von Sydow in the movie. Rutger Hauer has a small part in the movie as well. Yeah, it's really about Mother Teresa sort of breaking away from the convent where she's stationed at in Calcutta, India. She believes that God is telling her to leave the church and go out into the streets of Calcutta and work with the poor, which is sort of war torn at the moment as well. During this time, that part takes place in like the 40s, early 50s. So yeah, Juliet Stevenson is really good at. She is Mother Teresa, this woman who just wants to help and serve the poor, but she's met with a lot of hostility from the local population. They don't believe she should be there. They don't want her preaching her faith, the Catholic faith, to these Hindus. So they sort of shun her at first. But eventually, because all these kids that are in this neighborhood, they're all really poor. They can't read or write. So eventually she starts teaching these kids how to read and write. She takes care of the sick and elderly and that kind of stuff. And eventually she forms her own church, whatever. The Catholic, I forget what it's called, but it's now a famous charity church organization that she founded, and it's really about the struggle of her breaking away from her being a nun and just going out and helping the poor, and then of course confirming her as a saint as she would be in like the 90s or 2000s, whatever it was. It's a decent movie, not really my cup of tea, to be honest. I've seen a lot of religious movies, it seems like, this year. Too many to mention, but it's an okay film. So The Letters, I gave a 6 out of 10. Alright, moving on to Thursday, April 21st, I watched Paper Towns, directed by Jake Schreier, let me get that right. Yeah, based on the book by John Green, who also wrote The Fault in Our Stars. This film's not as good as that movie, but I still enjoyed this movie. Starring Nat Wolff and Cara Delevingne, or Delevingne, I don't know how you say her name. But yeah, Nat Wolff plays a young guy, Quentin, yeah, Q, who believes that everybody is owed one miracle in their life, and he believes his miracle is when this young girl, when their kids, moves across into the house across the street from him when they're kids. They become best friends, they have adventures together, that kind of thing. But the film takes place in high school, and then at this point, yeah, the girl is of course played by Cara Delevingne. She plays Margot, that's right, Margot, But at this point, Margot is like the big popular kid in school, and the two of them have grown apart, and they barely even talk to each other anymore. But one night, Margot knocks on his window, climbs into his bedroom, and is like, "Hey, can I borrow your car? I'm gonna take you out on an adventure." And she basically takes revenge on her boyfriend and her best friend, because her boyfriend's been sleeping around, and she uses Quentin and his car to do this. So they have this great, wonderful night together where they sort of reconnect. Um, and then at the day after, she like disappears. She goes up north to upstate New York, and after a few days, Quentin sort of gets worried, and he's like, "I gotta go find this girl, the love of my life." Yeah, she's like an adventurous girl who likes to leave clues around. She likes mysteries, that kind of thing. So he follows all these little clues that he thinks that she's left behind, for him to go chase after her. Yeah, Quentin has a couple of best friends. One like the horny young guy who thinks he's like God's gift to women, but has never gotten laid, and he has another friend who has a steady girlfriend, and the three of them all go on this road trip. Actually, they go to a party first that they never go to because they're sort of nerds, um, but they get invited. They crash this party, and there's a connection with like one of the hot girls at school, and then they all go on this road trip. The five of them, the three guys and the two girls, the one guy's girlfriend and this other popular chick, and they all go on this road trip up to upstate New York, to find Cara Delevingne's character Margot, who basically pisses off for most of the movie. I didn't love this film, but I enjoyed it. And the main reason I didn't love it is because I didn't really love Cara Delevingne's character. I didn't think she was all that special. I didn't think the best part of the movie I thought was the road trip scene, the five of these people bonding. I like the dynamic between the kid and his girlfriend, and the new girl that came along. There's some really sweet and interesting scenes during that road trip, and then when they get up to upstate New York to find the girl, it's kind of a letdown after that as well. So yeah, enjoyable movie, sort of teen, not really a comedy, sort of a teen drama mystery. So yeah, cut off again as usual. Where was I before I was rudely interrupted? So yeah, Paper Towns. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for the most part. I like the young cast, but Cara Delevingne did nothing for me really. So Paper Towns, I gave a 7 out of 10. All right, moving on quickly. We have My All American, which I watched on Friday night, April 22nd. Yeah, written and directed by Angelo Pizzo, based on the book by Jim Dent. Yeah, really good football movie. Once you've seen one football movie, you've pretty much seen them all, but I really enjoyed this movie a lot. Aaron Eckhart plays Coach Royal, famous coach of the Texas Longhorns back in the 70s, early 70s, something like that. The film starts off with a woman from the college newspaper interviewing him, talking about all the great players that played for him, the All-Americans that played for him, and he goes into this story about one All-American who's not known, and this kid is Freddie Steinmark, played by Finn Wittrock. Yeah, Freddie is a young kid who's undersized kid with the heart of a lion. Basically, he plays high school football in Colorado, and he and this other big guy get recruited to go to Texas back in the late '60s, early '70s, and basically Finn, Freddie Steinmark has this great outlook on life. Just a really sweet guy, very religious, very concerned about his family, that kind of stuff. But he just never gives up. This little dude, kind of like Rudy, that kind of story. But the guy who plays him is really good. Finn Wittrock, I liked him a lot as Freddie Steinmark. He basically leads them to the national championship game back in '71, an undefeated season, beating Arkansas in this huge game that President Nixon attended, that kind of thing. And then they get invited to the Cotton Bowl for the bowl game for New Year's Day, back before the college playoff system and all that kind of shit. Um, but yeah, it's this great story about this great kid who's undersized and has the heart of a lion, like I said, but tragedy strikes him towards the end of the movie. I don't want to get into what happens to him because that'll sort of ruin it. But yeah, really good movie, good football movie. I liked the girl who played his girlfriend, Sarah Bolger. She was in something else recently that I saw that I liked. She's good as his girlfriend with blonde hair. I liked her blonde haircut. It looked really good on her. Yeah, just a really sweet movie, and Aaron Eckhart is really good as the football coach. Just a really good, uplifting sports movie that I liked a lot. I'm not a fan of Texas at all. Believe me, my dad's a Oklahoma Sooners fan. But yeah, my All-American I liked a lot. So I gave it a 7 out of 10. Alright, moving on to Saturday, April 23rd. I watched Monkey Kingdom, directed by Mark Linfield and Alistair Fothergill, who's had a hand in these other Disney nature films that have come out over the past few years. I've pretty much seen all the Disney nature movies, and this is no different. The film is narrated by Tina Fey. Well, I don't want to go into more about her, but the film takes place in Sri Lanka, amongst the forests and the ruins of Sri Lanka, about a troop of macaque monkeys, about 50 of them, and it really focuses on the class system within this troop of monkeys, and the female monkey called Maya, sort of at the bottom of the food chain. Yeah, like I say, these monkeys are not really fun to look at. They're not very attractive creatures for the most part, but the dynamic within the troop and how the class works. You have the alpha male, and you've got a bunch of female called the sisters, who are like the head women, and they all have babies. And then you have this other monkey, Maya, at the bottom of the ladder. She has a son with a rival male that comes in. Yeah, beautiful photography as usual with these movies, especially the landscape of Sri Lanka and sort of the shots above the forest, and you see the ruins, the towers, and the rocks in the background. I didn't love it though, mainly because the monkeys aren't really that attractive. Like I said, Tina Fey is good as the narrator. She had some good humor to parts of the movie. But it's your typical Disney nature film. I think that these come out every Earth Day, and I think Earth Day was last Friday as well. So interesting coincidence. But yeah, I've seen all the Earth Day movies, like Planet Earth or just Earth, Oceans, African Cats, Bears, Chimpanzee. I've pretty much seen them all. So Monkey Kingdom, not my favorite of the bunch. I gave a 6 out of 10. Alright, moving on to last night, April 24th, and my first film that came out this year, 2016, but sadly it probably will be the worst film I see all year, and that is Norm of the North, animated movie, directed by Trevor Wall, voiced by Rob Schneider and Heather Graham. This movie was terrible. I pretty much fell asleep halfway through it because I was just so bored and sort of disgusted at how terrible it was. Yeah, Rob Schneider voices Norm, a polar bear living in the Arctic, whose habitat gets threatened by tourists who are thinking about creating a housing development up in the Arctic. So he goes off to New York to I don't know. So yeah, as I was saying, Norm of the North, just terrible. There's a bunch of singing and dancing, and the characters are just annoying. And like I said, I pretty much fell asleep. I don't know. I was dead tired after dinner last night, and I wanted to watch this movie and then watch Game of Thrones, which I never got to do, and Veep. So I'm gonna watch those tonight, hopefully. So yeah, Northern North just put me to sleep. It was fucking terrible. Pretty much hated it from the get go. And like I said, I probably won't see a worse movie in 2016. I even liked Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Wood Chip, better than Norm of the North. So Norm of the North, I gave a 3 out of 10, and I don't give many 3s or below, really. And I haven't given any movie from 2015 a below a 4 out of 10. So there you have it, 7 movies that I watched this past week. These videos are way too long, obviously, and I keep getting cut off by my stupid camera. But thank you for watching as always, and until next time, I'll see ya.
Bond. James Bond.